Oh, yes. It's time. Yes. Welcome to the Dan Show, best show on YouTube that talks football year round. After the playoffs, we're going to do a lot of draft stuff. I'm very excited. If you can't see, I am wearing a Polk High jersey. My sister got this for me for Christmas. Polk High Al Bundy jersey. So anyway, I'm going to go over to YouTube real fast just to make sure I'm on. This has happened before where, unfortunately, I'm doing my show and I get over and I'm not posting to YouTube. So it looks like I'm good. Okay, I am awesome. This is awesome. Okay. Right now, I don't have any action placed on the playoff games. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I am very high on the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs. You really can't go wrong with either Mahomes or Kelsey prop bets. I am refreshing because I didn't have a chance right before the show to get the numbers, but I'm looking at the numbers now. I'm kind of surprised the Pittsburgh-Cleveland game. If you haven't heard, the head coach tested positive for COVID. He's not going to be on the sidelines, but it did not affect the line, which I'm a little surprised about. Washington's fluctuating between 8.5 and 9. I'm really hoping more actions placed on the Rams because right now the Seahawks are 3.5, and I want to get that down. So, I had one of my subscribers send me a tweet. The Texans hired Nick Cassiro. I'm going to butcher the name. I'm so sorry. New England Patriots director of personnel. I'm kind of surprised about that because I didn't think that the Texans would want to dip back into the Patriots well again, but they did. Very surprised about that. Denver Gator, welcome to the show, brother. Let's go. Something that I saw recently on Twitter, and I commented on it, is that Vic Fangio is going to be involved in the process for the Denver Broncos' new GM. I was really surprised about that. Normally, management decides on this. They don't allow coaches. It kind of shows that I might have been wrong all along, and Fangio has a lot more pull with the Denver Broncos organization than I thought. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. In case you missed it, so far, one of the things I'm eyeballing is with the Seattle Seahawks is I can't believe it. I'm just having a big brain freeze. Jamal Adams. I can't. Oh, man, I started off the show bad. I'm going to drink some coffee right now. All right. Jamal Adams is supposed to play, but we don't know the story behind the Rams quarterback situation. So that's something that I'm kind of eyeballing because right now the line's 3.5. I want to tease it down. But basically, I'm going to put a lot of action on the Chiefs playoff game. I'm going to do a lot of prop bet action. So, Isaac, it's time. Yes. Isaac, I'm actually glad you joined because one of the more surprising pieces of information that's come out is Jason Garrett got an interview for the Chargers coaching job. I knew that Jason Garrett would get head coach consideration. I am very surprised that the Chargers chose him. I'd love to know what your thoughts are. Alex, welcome, brother. Man, I'm very excited. And one thing I found out today, just a few minutes ago, is Eric Bieniemy has applied or interviewed with, 5 out of the 6 head coaching jobs that are available. Eric Bieniemy has interviewed for 5 of them. The one he hasn't interviewed for is the Houston Texans. I really thought the way everything's been working out that he is going to the Texans, but now I'm kind of wondering what they're doing. You sent me the information about them going after Nick Casidro. kind of surprised they're dipping back into the Patriots fan base. Or I'm sorry, the Patriots Patriots pool. Very surprised about that. But it's good business practice. I think it's a fine choice. I want to know what they bring forward. So, Funk, what's up, brother? Man, very excited. Very excited to do this. I'm doing a show Friday. I'm going to go in depth. I might actually have a bet or two placed, but I'm really wanting to dive in deep when the Chiefs play, man. I'm very excited, man. This is a great weekend of football. 6 playoff games this weekend. Isn't this great? Jason Garrett, Isaac firing back. Jason Garrett is not as bad as everyone thinks, but considering the other options, he looks. No, Jason Garrett will be an NFL head coach again. I actually think he did an underrated job in Dallas. Not surprised that he took an offensive coordinator position, but very surprised it was with New York. I 100% think he will be a head coach. But of all the teams, I was kind of surprised about the Chargers, but he did do a great job with Dak Prescott. But the Chargers just seem to be an odd fit. I don't know why. I can't really get on board. But it's not a terrible move. But I would go in a different direction. That if I'm the Chargers. So personally, I would love Brian DeBall or Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer has been rumored to come back into coaching quite often. Last year, he was rumored to come back with USC. He's basically right now making some phone calls. It sounds like the only team he's associated with is the Jacksonville Jaguars, but that would be a great fit in LA. It would be a great fit. I think he'd do a great job there. He would have player personnel control. Brian Dable, not as high on him as most people, but I mean, you have a very similar quarterback in Josh Allen. So I don't hate it. Not my number one choice, but not bad. I didn't know this until recently. Now you have to interview 2 minority candidates, and I'm just going to say this. The NFL's what, 85% black, but there's only 2 black head coaches. Come on. Come on. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me. But the NFL is getting better about this. But come on. 2. When Eric Bieniemy didn't get a job, and several other people did last year, I'm like. But for those of you who don't know, there was an incident with Eric Bieniemy at the University of Colorado. I don't know all the details, but basically he was kicked out of the whole university or just the stadium for a year, and it was something to do with him, not as a coach. He was just coming back as a fan. He's Eric Bieniemy, won national championship there, All-American. An incident with him and a female. All I know is that he was kicked off either the whole university or just the stadium for a year. That's all I'm going to say. So there are things about Eric Bieniemy. For those of you that remember, Matt Patricia, when he got hired, they brought up a DUI on spring break in '96. I think I got the year right. I know it was somewhere in '90s. Maybe it was '98. Come on, a DUI on spring break that happened 20 years ago. You're going to bring that up now? But at the NFL, they dive into things. So that's just the way the rule is. But I do think the NFL is going in the right direction. Alex chimes in, personally not happy about the GM signing and the fact we haven't even asked to interview Bieniemy, though I heard they asked to interview Brian Dable is who the Bills' offensive coordinator is. Yeah, I heard about that. I am very surprised. I'm surprised on both things. I'm surprised they went to the Patriots again, and I'm also surprised out of all the head coaches, you don't want to talk to Bieniemy. That to me makes no sense, unless they are sold on Eric Bieniemy and they're just trying to get other options. It's unusual, But there have been NFL teams that have just locked in on their choice, and then they're just like, well, let's just take a look around. But that would be the guy I would want to, because he's never been a head coach before. So there are questions bringing him in. Now, the last two offensive coordinators with the Kansas City Chiefs have had success in the NFL, unlike Bill Belichick, where his assistants haven't had success. So that's another thing. Sean McDermott and Ron Rivera, both former Andy Reid coordinators, both of those guys have taken their teams to the playoffs. So out of 14 playoff teams, you have the Bears, Kansas City, Buffalo, and Washington are all former Andy Reid assistant coaches at one point in time or another. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot Baltimore. John Harbaugh. He was with Andy Reid before he took over in Baltimore. So I mean, there's a line of people that have worked for Andy Reid and have had success both on the offensive and defensive side, and with John Harbaugh, special teams even. Yeah, it does surprise me. I'll be honest. I'm a little surprised at what Houston did. I didn't expect them to dip into the Patriots pool, and I'm not sure why they haven't talked to Eric Bieniemy. It doesn't make sense that he's interviewed with everybody else except Houston, which to me seems to be the best fit. Option on the Texans GM pick. I already did it, but I'll do. I mean, I'm very surprised. Okay, I'm very surprised but this is business 101. You look at the most successful model, which over the last 20 years is New England Patriots, and you try to emulate it. The thing is, though, teams have tried to emulate the Patriots way. It's failed. Scott Pioli took over Kansas City, tried to run it like the Midwest version of the Patriots. It failed badly. So, yeah, and then other teams have tried to adopt. I will admit the Houston Texans did adapt, and so did the Atlanta Falcons, but they kind of split apart and did some different things. So, as far as the success, I think this move will depend on who he brings in. The question I have is, why haven't you asked for Eric Bieniemy? It doesn't make any sense. If nothing else, and I just brought this up, I know Funk meant it kind of as a joke, but if nothing else, it's one of the criteria of the Rooney Rule. I don't get that. Why haven't you talked to him? But we'll see what happens. Saleh is said to be a bigger target now since he has a good relationship with our GM. Here's the problem with Saleh is that you have to rebuild your defense, which was really bad last year, but he is good and motivating. That would be interesting. If you bring in Saleh, I don't know how him and Romeo Crennel would fit in. Let me ask you, Alex, you're Texan fans. How do you feel about Romeo Crennel staying on? I mean, he's your defensive mind. That was a terrible defense. Do you want him? You just want to get rid of him? Or would you have a problem with him saying, you know what, I'm going to stay on board, try to fix this defense? But Robert Saleh would have to atom bomb that defense completely. But I will say this: if Saleh goes to Houston, it makes Houston a lot more appealing because you have a defensive mind. You're set with your quarterback. You're set with your offensive line. Richard Sherman was public about being very vocal about wanting Saleh to get a head coaching job. He was also public saying he's not coming back to San Francisco. So it wouldn't surprise me wherever Saleh goes, Richard Sherman will follow. And that's a guy that I really think would really help out. I think when I look at Houston, I think they need more leaders on the defensive side of the ball. I'm sorry to say this, but I do expect J.J. Watt to be gone. But if J.J. Watt stays and he's on board, he would have to move inside to tackle in that wide nine defense, but it wouldn't be a bad fit. It would be interesting. It would be interesting. I think Bieniemy would be better. But I think Saleh would be a terrible fit in Detroit. I've said that many times. Not a terrible fit in Houston. Not a terrible fit. But I'd be curious what they would do with Romeo Crennel, what they would do on defense, because that defense is not even close to being set up. The 3-4 that they run. I'm using 3-4 here. That they run, and what Saleh wants to do is night and day. I don't know if the personnel mixes, so it'd be kind of weird. I've heard a lot of Texans fans saying they would like Saleh, saying he would bring a good defense. He only needs to bring a good. He wouldn't bring a good defense. He would have to build that defense. The defense is so different that he would need to bring in players. The GM would have to bring in a good offensive mind, and that's another thing completely is who do you bring in? Normally what you do is you bring in a head coach who's fired. But out of the head coaches who were fired, Matt Patricia, Dan Quinn, Anthony Lynn's the only real offensive mind, and Anthony Lynn's not known for grooming quarterbacks. So if you bring in a guy like Saleh, it would be nice for him to bring in an offensive coordinator with some head coaching experience. That's kind of the norm. For him to come in, the last team to bring in like a whole new staff was Cincinnati Bengals, and they've won 6 games in 2 years. So you really don't want to do that. You would want to bring in an experienced offensive mind, and I don't know who he knows his inner circle, but that would be kind of a. If I'm Saleh, I would take Houston over Detroit because I keep on seeing Saleh to Detroit, and to me that's a terrible move. But I'd be curious who he could bring in as offensive coordinator and what he wants to do on defense. What do you think? How do you like it? I think there's better. If I was you as a Houston Texans fan, I would want Bieniemy a lot more than Saleh, but I'm not hating Saleh. Yeah, smart move by Elway to get Fangio involved in the search, especially if they get Kelly from Chicago. I believe he tried. He hired Fangio as defensive coordinator to have a good bond. I was really surprised that they included Fangio in the decision for head coach. You've been listening to me, and I keep saying Fangio's on hot seat. There's a big disconnect between him and Elway. And so they let Elway go. I'm like, okay, great. So Elway's going to bring in a new GM, and I thought they were just going to apparently. I'm a Chiefs fan, but I've always respected the Broncos organization. Pat Bowlen got robbed from being in the Hall of Fame for years and years and years. He should have been in the Pro Football Hall of Fame before 2000. He's that important to the NFL. He wasn't. And what they're doing as an organization is really brilliant. Really brilliant. It's. I have a lot of respect for Denver Broncos organization. This is a smart move, man. This is a really smart move. So, yeah, they do have a bond in Chicago. It would make a lot of sense. I still think it's kind of a mismatched disconnect on offense, but an off-season OTAs, a mini camp. Denver, to me, when they decided to stay on with Fangio, okay. But then Elway, steps down or steps up, depending on how you want to look at it. I've been saying steps down, and people are like, well, he didn't step down. He's hiring a new GM. Okay. You get what I'm saying, though. So you bring in a new GM. Okay, well, that's going to create more disconnect. No, Fangio's going to be involved. He's going to have input. This is smart because you have a talented team. Now you're going to be a little more connected. I can't tell you how smart what Denver is doing and all the good things. As a Chiefs fan, I'm not liking it. As a football fan, I think it's good because I like to see franchises do the right thing. So, also the Texans interviewed the offensive coordinator from the Panthers. He is a very hot name, and I actually tell you the truth, I would rather have him than Saleh if I'm you. And the reason why is that he's an offensive genius. Use that term loosely, but look at the LSU offense from 2 years ago. He was very involved with that. Carolina did a really, really good job on offense. Limited personnel, your best player out for the whole year in Christian McCaffrey. I think that would be a better fit than Saleh. And here's the thing. If I'm Tim Kelly, what I do is I bring in a former head coach. You're going to think I'm crazy, but if I'm Tim Kelly, you know who I would reach out to would be Matt Patricia as my defensive coordinator. Similar type personnel, similar type defense. And I think Matt Patricia will get a job somewhere. But that to me might work really, really good. Or you can go ahead and you can keep Romeo Crennel as your defensive coordinator, but you make some tweaks. And keep in mind, did you see what they did in Carolina? You have an offensive mind, an offensive coordinator, then they go heavy on defense on the draft, and they're building. And if you go in that direction, you're going to be in really good shape. You're going to be in really good shape. So I like that move. And I like the fact that they interviewed Saleh already. You got to interview Saleh, but why haven't you interviewed Bieniemy? Good move, though. Joe Brady is not going to go there. Are you talking about Houston or are you talking about Detroit? Because I actually could see him going to Houston. That's not a bad move. I'd be cautious with hiring Brady, Panthers offensive coordinator, as head coach. Let him prove at least another year. That's a thought too, is that he hasn't done enough. That was the same thing with Freddie Kitchens, who took over at Cleveland last year. Some guys have it. And one thing is that if you do bring him in as head coach, I think it would be important to bring him in with a former head coach like Arizona did. They brought in Kingsbury, then they also brought in Vance Joseph, who was fired from your Broncos as defensive coordinator. You bring in Joe Judge in New York, who you bring in as offensive coordinator. Well, you bring in Jason Garrett. And if you're going to go ahead and have the guy come in, the interview I would want to hear. It's actually funny. Maybe you guys know who I'm talking about. Maybe you don't. But there's a coach by the name of Rick Neuheisel, and he was a popular name. He was with the 49ers for a while. Then he was with the University of Colorado. And then he interviewed I think he was offensive coordinator at the time. He interviewed for a head coaching job. And I remember afterwards somebody leaked out that within 5 minutes of the interview, they knew that there was no chance in hell they were going to hire him as head coach because he was so unprepared for the interview. And a lot of times, matter of fact, Andy Reid was never an offensive coordinator. He was a quarterback's coach. And apparently he was an afterthought. He was like, out of all the people they interviewed in Philly, he was the last guy they really wanted. And he came in with this giant notebook, and he had the top 10 position coaches for every single position. And apparently the owners were thinking it was going to be like a 1 or 2 hour interview. It lasted forever because Andy Reid was so prepared, and they were like, yeah, we're just going to roll the dice on Andy Reid. We're just going to go ahead and go with this guy, even though he was like the last option, but he interviewed so well. I want to know how Joe Brady interviews. Is he come in? Is he wildly involved with the offensive schemes? Because remember, he was with the Saints, then he was with LSU, and then this year he was with Carolina. He has a variety of different experiences. Can he do all these different things because he absorbs so much knowledge? He relates so well to so many different types of coaches, or is he just a byproduct? I mean, at LSU, how much was he really involved? I mean, look how talented that team was. There's some people, if you're looking at mock drafts, Jamar Chase is rumored to go 3rd overall in this year's draft. And then you had 5 players from that LSU team go in the 1st round in this year's draft. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things. I want to know how he interviews. If he blows people away, he has a great presence, he has a great plan, then I'd have no problem whatsoever. If he comes in and he doesn't A+ nail the interview, I'd 100% agree with you there. I got Matt Nagy joining the Dan Show. This is awesome. My team is going to get whooped. I pretty much agree with you. I will let you know one thing. The Saints were a 9.5-point favorite last year as well. They are exactly a 9.5-point favorite this year. And they lost to the Minnesota Vikings. You guys are in the same division. Dalvin Cook went nuts. There's no reason David Montgomery can't go nuts. You have to play the same way. But the one difference is I don't expect the Saints. I watched that game and I'm like, the Saints look like they just kind of played a C+. They didn't show up. But I'm really the first time ever I got a head coach on the Dan Show. This is awesome. Thank you, Matt. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's like right around here. There's a little subscribe button. So hit that button. Become one of the greatest people on planet Earth. Thank you very much for joining my show, Coach Nagy. That is awesome. I think this GM isn't bad. The Texans won him 2 years ago, but the Pats blocked any type of interview. They're already sold on him. Just happy we got him from the Pats. Just not happy we got him from the Pats. Man, I don't blame you. I do not blame you. I mean, Bill O'Brien was essentially the GM, and he got him from the Patriots, and they did a lot of things the Patriots way. The Patriots way does not translate outside of New England, but is he adaptive enough? I will tell you this: be careful if he tries running things like New England. Scott Pioli, he came here to Kansas City. He wanted to make it the Midwest Patriots. It did not fly. It did not fly. But as of right now, I do like to pick. I'm still shocked that they went in the Patriots pool, though. I really thought they would go somewhere else. Really interested to see who their head coach is, and I am expecting them to talk to Eric Bieniemy sooner or later. If you had to choose an offensive mind for the Chargers, because I know you like Saleh for us, who do you think is the best offensive-minded coach for the Chargers? That's a tough one. I would personally like to have somebody with more experience, somebody who was a former head coach, that type of experience. But what you could do, and this would not be a bad idea, is I don't know who your offensive coordinator is right now. I'm drawing a blank on it, but I know your quarterback's coach is Pep Hamilton, and he's been a popular name as a head coach. And actually, let me double check here. I'm drawing a blank here, and I am so sorry, but I know Pep Hamilton's is quarterback's coach, and he's a guy that I'm very, very high on. So, okay, I'm trying to see I don't know who the Chargers offensive coordinator is right now off the top of my head. So I'm looking at that right now, and it gives me a list from 1997. You gotta be kidding me. Oh no, I got it. Okay. Steve Stetchen? I don't even know who the hell that is. Pep Hamilton's your quarterback's coach, and he's done a fantastic job. That's a guy that you may want to go ahead and he may actually get an interview, but normally you want somebody with a lot more experience, somebody who's a former head coach. And I'm just trying to think of somebody off the top of my head who's an offensive coordinator in the NFL who's got some head coaching experience. I can't think of anybody just right off the top of my head. You might even want to keep the same offensive coordinator there. But I would really want somebody, when you bring in a rookie head coach, you want to bring in somebody who's got more experience on the offensive side of the ball. But all the coaches that were fired, none of them are former offensive coordinators. Doug Marrone, the Jaguars, he was a former offensive line coach, not really an offensive coordinator. You could bring him in to coach the offense, but that's not really a guy that I would want in the franchise. You could bring in Adam Gase. That's considering what went on in New York. That's a guy I don't think that you would be really high on, but that's kind of what I'm looking at. Somebody who's got head coaching experience, who's had success as an offensive coordinator. Adam Gase would be a guy, but after everything that happened in New York, that may not be the guy that you would want. But don't be surprised if they decide to go with Pep Hamilton, your quarterback's coach, because he's been a hot name in the NFL for a long time. And for him to be there as your quarterback's coach, look at what happened this year. Who's more responsible, the offense coordinator or the quarterback's coach? That's kind of what you need to determine. If it's the offensive coordinator, keep your offensive coordinator. I looked it up. I've never even heard of that guy. I've heard of Pep Hamilton, your quarterback's coach. He has a great reputation. So I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name. The Stanford head coach has been rumored to take over as head coach in the pros. If you could somehow convince him to be offensive coordinator, which I don't see how you do, because you'd have to pay him a boatload of money. That, and I think the Stanford culture is really good. He's a guy that's been rumored as a head coach, not as a coordinator. So I know I didn't really answer your question, but that's a tough one, Alex. Or I'm sorry, Isaac. That's a tough one. Alex would love to keep Romeo as a advisor, but he's totally done as a DC. I would want, actually, I wouldn't have a problem if Romeo was the defensive coordinator. I could tell you in Kansas City, he was just overwhelmed when he was the head coach here, and I'm guessing that you got the same vibe. Is that he's just going to be overwhelmed as head coach. As defensive coordinator, I wouldn't have an issue, but they need to fix some holes. It may be better if he just stays with the organization. But I would like it. If I was a Houston fan, I would want him to stay. I really would. I think he's good for the franchise, and he's an excellent coach, maybe even just an advisor. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. But if you bring in Salah, I don't know how Crennel fits with Salah. The schemes are just night and day. So that's a problem I would have. Salah looks like he might be on his way to Detroit, and yes, he'd have to blow up I keep hearing Salah to Detroit, and I'll let you know, Funk. I don't think it's a smart. I don't think it's a smart move. The reason why is that defense does not fit at all. But whoever takes over as a general manager, if he can revitalize that roster, and here's the thing: if you're a fan, you would have to be patient. You would have to be completely patient. But the problem that you have is, what do you do on the offensive side of the ball? Because most of the guys that I've been a Lions fan that have been in the chat have been telling me that they want a quarterback. So if you use that first round pick on a quarterback, I don't know what to tell you, because you're blowing up both sides of the ball and you're already a bad team to begin with. But yeah, you're right. He would have to blow up that defense. Bieniemy and Lewis. Well, I'm not. I mean, that's been the rule for the Rooney Rule, but really, God, it really should just be. It's sad that we're in a day where you're defined by being, white or black or something. I'm gonna stop that rant right there. But it's good that they are not going to lose a draft pick. I've been high on Bieniemy going to Detroit for a while, but I thought it'd be Bieniemy with John Dorsey, because it's really important for a first-time head coach to have not a disconnect, which I think happened in Detroit. I think there's a disconnect in Detroit. Usually when there's a bad team, there's usually a disconnect, or usually the head coach and GM's not on the same page. So the bull for the Chargers would be smart, but Eric Bieniemy going to the Chargers was an advantage because all his time in the AFC West. Eric Bieniemy would be a good fit there. I don't. If I'm Eric Bieniemy, to me, it's a no-brainer. Take the Houston job, but it's the only one he hasn't interviewed for. Eric Bieniemy also spent a lot of time in the NFC North. He was with Minnesota's running backs coach for a very long time. That was another reason why I liked him going to Detroit. But Dable going to the Chargers makes a lot of sense. I mean, there's a lot of similarities between Herbert and Josh Allen, and the way Josh Allen is just skyrocketed. I mean, people are thinking he's an MVP candidate. I'm not really on board with calling him an MVP, but how he's played is really, really good. I wouldn't have too much of an issue with that. I'd be curious what he wants to do on the defensive side of the ball. Also being a first-time coach, but for both of these guys would present different struggles. But either one of these guys, it would be kind of interesting, though. The one thing I will say is I'm not sure either one of these guys are a massive upgrade over Lynn. That's why I kind of like Salah, because you went offense and you have a really boring offense, a conservative coach. A guy like Salah, who would be really exciting on the defensive side of the ball, and then you go ahead and just hire a coordinator to take care of the offense. Keep in mind, whoever takes over the Chargers has to make sure that defense stays intact. because there's a lot of talent on that defense. That defense should be next year if everybody comes back and stays healthy. They have a lot of free agents, by the way. But if that defense can stay healthy and intact this offseason, it should be a top 10 defense. So that's another thing you got to think of. Dimitroff or Rick Smith. If you're talking overall, I would take Dimitroff. If you're talking about the Detroit Lions, I might actually go with Rick Smith. I'm that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I like Dimitroff better. I got a lot of kudos from him. I am very high on him because I remember he traded for Julio Jones, gave up an arm and a leg, rolled the dice. I like general managers that take chances, especially when it works. But at the same time, he made a lot of what cost him his job in Atlanta is they traded up or they traded back into the first round. They went all in on offensive line, even though they had a bunch of problems on defense. But the one thing I like about Dimitroff is that he had a franchise quarterback, worked as hard as he could to keep his franchise quarterback intact in weapons. So if you look at it that way, there's a lot of similarities between Atlanta and Detroit, and I could see him doing the same thing. I think he would keep Stafford as is. I think he would try to get Stafford. I think he would try to, as hard as he could, to keep Galladay. And if he couldn't keep Marvin Lewis, make a deal so that, another receiver could come there. I do like that. And there's a lot of similarities between the two. Now, if you're wanting to blow the team up and you're wanting to move on from Stafford, I think Rick Smith might be a better option. But I'm judging Dimitroff by what he's done in Atlanta, where Rick Smith had to do a lot more volatile situation with Houston. So he's used to a lot more instability and unpredictability, which unfortunately you have in Detroit because you have a new owner. So I know I'm going both ways on you here, but if me personally, if I had to choose between two guys that I would want to be GM, it would be Dimitroff. What's crazy is Saleh would switch the defense back what it was scheme-wise before Patricia. I mean, Schwartz had that wide 9 and Caldwell kept it. Quinn replaced it with all insanely. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it's funny because you remember Buffalo? They did the same thing. And you remember they had Rex Ryan, who the coach before Ryan switched it from a 3-4 to a 4-3, and they almost had it fixed. And then Rex Ryan comes in, he wants to run a 3-4. Sean McDermott comes in, he wants to run a 4-3. And now it's kind of a disconnect with the Bills defense is because they kept on flipping back and forth schemes. So, yeah, with Caldwell basically wanted to run a wide 9 type of defense. It was more of a Tampa 2, which focused more on speed and athleticism. Patricia wanted versatile, bigger, stronger, more powerful, but slower guys. And so now you're switching to Saleh's defense, which is back. It's very similar to what Caldwell wanted to run, was fast, speedy players that can create turnovers. And so that is a problem. And that's why I don't like Saleh going there, is because you have questions on offense. Okay, do you keep Stafford? Do you not keep Stafford? Can you keep Galladay? Do you franchise him? The one thing I do like about Saleh going there is that if you can keep Kerryon Johnson, you still have Adrian Peterson under contract, and you still have Swift. So you have 3 running backs, and more than likely you'll probably draft another running back in the draft this year again, and that's probably going to be a staple because you'll probably be focused more on running the ball. So that might be a good thing, but that I can't emphasize how much you got to blow that defense up. I mean, if you're set on the offensive side of the ball, can you deal with a few bad years? And it would be a few bad years. I don't care what he says. If Saleh takes over in Detroit, your defense is going to be bad. Okay, it's just going to be bad. I don't care if you have 8 new free agents or 8 new starters on the defense. It's going to be bad. But 2022, it's a different story. 2022 may be something different, but you're right. You're just flip-flopping back in schemes, and it'll be frustrating. It'll be frustrating. So, I mean, if you do bring in Saleh, just be patient. You're going to struggle for a little bit. Rumor around here is they're making the move now because Joe Ellis may step away. after next season. Ownership becomes a higher priority. Oh, really? That actually makes a lot of sense. I wasn't aware of that, but yeah, it might make a sense. I've heard of Elway trying to be a minority owner in the past, and him and Boylan had such a great relationship. I would love it if Elway could somehow get the finances together. He cannot do it alone. He could not do it alone. He would never get approved by himself. But if he can get a team together and be like a minority owner, that would be awesome. I didn't realize that. So I'm glad you brought that up, man. I was with you until you said I understand. I know that's a harsh thing to say, but yeah, as a defensive coordinator, it's not a bad move. So I understand the hatred. I understand you not being happy with me. Opinion as a Chargers fan, I have not and will not be scared of the Broncos as long as Drew Lock stalls his progression. Lock has never scared me like Carr or Mahomes. It's hard for me to not argue with you, Isaac, because I went to high school with him, different years, of course. It's not like me and him are best friends or anything, but I do like Drew Lock and I do like his upside, but I really felt like they weren't running the right offense. When I look at Denver, look at all that youth, and every single player, with the exception of Melvin Gordon, came from like a spread type of offense. And why aren't they doing that? Why don't they integrate a little more college? It just seems like they're playing an old style offense with all these new style parts. And that's the reason why I thought there was some great disconnect. Give Drew Lock some time, because I actually think he's a pretty good quarterback. Do disagree with you there, but I mean, hey, you that's the whole point of the show, is to talk football, not this. The whole point of the show isn't everybody has to agree with Dan. No, the whole point is talk here. And of course, I'm biased. I went to high school with the guy, so I mean, of course I like him. But nobody will scare people like Mahomes. So I mean, that's a good part, and maybe eventually Herbert. But I will say the one thing about Denver. The offensive weapons they have going into 2022, or I'm sorry, 2021, it's going to be dangerous. I mean, you got Noah Fant, who's going to be the best tight end in football after a couple of years. Cortland Sutton, a Pro Bowl receiver, comes back. Jerry Jeudy, I am very high on Jerry Jeudy. A lot of people aren't right now. You also have Tim Sanders, who had a great year coming out of nowhere. You have two good running backs. Bowles finally stepped up, played pretty good on the left side. You're fixing that offensive line. So there's a lot of pieces in play, but I you know what, if I'm a Charger today, right now, who's the better quarterback, Herbert or Locke? I'm going to say Herbert. That could change next year. You're afraid of Carr, though. I know a reliable guy, Luck, will win a Super Bowl before Carr. Love the trash talking back and forth. McVay got Phillips to get started. That's right, because they brought in Wade Phillips, and that was also a good move. That was also a good move. I wonder if I'm curious if you could bring Wade. I've always been a Wade Phillips fan. I'm always old school. Bum Phillips is one of the guys I never got to see coach, but I would have loved to see coach. I'm getting off track here. As a Chargers fan, I'm scared of Carr. As an NFL fan, I'm not scared of Carr. I think he's not bad. I don't think he's never going to be like Mahomes, but he can. They're doing some good things in Vegas. I would love Pep as our new. Yeah. Pep Hamilton's solid, man. Alex. I think Peyton Manning's nephew will win a Super Bowl. Oh, God. That's true. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Seriously, as soon as he gets to college, he's a Heisman candidate. The second he's done with high school, he instantly becomes a Heisman candidate. I like Carr, stand-up dude, solid, smart, but he's with patience is not a strong suit for most Detroit sports fans. I told everyone we have to survive till 2021 with Patricia, and most people in defensive players revolted year one. Yeah. Yeah. Dude, Funk, I understand. That's why I'm telling you, I don't think Sal is a good fit, man. Pep was at Michigan. I did not know that, man. But I'm very high on Pep Hamilton. I really thought that even though he's the quarterback's coach, and it wouldn't surprise me if he becomes an offensive coordinator with the Chargers or with another team. He's a guy who's going to be an NFL head coach sooner or later. Funk is a longtime sports fan. I respect Detroit and Cleveland fan bases. Diehard fans are some really tough teams to stand by for so long. NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, so much respect. And that's cool, man. That is really cool. I get it. I get it. I'm not a baseball fan, but we got the Royals and now we got Kansas City. It's a great time here in Kansas City. Did I call Marvin Jones? Damn it. The Red Wings, yeah, the Red Wings are solid. I'm not a hockey fan, man. I'm not a hockey fan, but yeah, everybody knows the Red Wings were solid for a long, long, long time. Hey, Alex, man. Hey, I understand. Hey, listen, Friday, I'm going to go into some depth detail. Might even have some action now. I might have some action now. So if you can, make it back Friday, man. Have a good one, brother. Elway plus Mannings, all of them in Mark Cuban dream team. There's been a lot of talk about Elway getting involved with the Broncos, but I don't think it's going to happen. I'm trying to sneeze. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. Man. I have to admit, man, I've always liked Mark Cuban. Yeah, I always liked Mark Cuban, but man, that would be a lot of fun. One Pride 40, I don't think Dimitroff is good in drafting in the trenches. If you go by the last draft, no. But he kept Matt Ryan upright for a long time. That was one thing that they did a really good job of, is that once they got the quarterback, they kept him upright. They made that big trade for Julio Jones. They kept the offensive line in pretty good shape. I mean, you have to realize before Matt Ryan got there, that was a bad football team. You don't have the third overall pick in the draft and have a good team. So when they took over, he made some mistakes. And I kept on saying he made some mistakes and he did some things that he shouldn't have done. But I'm telling you right now, he did a good job for a long time. I mean, he's largely responsible for taking that team to the Super Bowl. The GM has a large responsibility. I would say he's not responsible for blowing a 28-3 lead. He also responsible for bringing Kyle Shanahan in as an offensive coordinator. That was a great move. Remember, he was fired from the Browns, and some people weren't high on him at all, and Dimitroff was. He did miss. He did. It was a big miss. Chris Lindstrom and Caleb McCrary did not need to go in the first round. Neither one of those guys are first-round picks, and taking them 12 and 30 overall really sunk the Falcons. It really sunk the Falcons. But I like his aggressive nature. Just because he missed in one draft. And by the way, these guys are starters. I mean, these guys aren't terrible. It's not like Chris Lindstrom and Caleb McCrary are terrible players. No, they're starters, and they're not bad starters. I don't think either one's going to a Pro Bowl. I know McCrary's not, and I'll be honest, I have no idea the rating on Chris Lindstrom. I know he's not a Pro Bowler, but I don't think he's terrible either. But I remember when they drafted him 12th overall, I'm like, oh, no. Oh, no. I mean, because you don't want to draft a guard 12th overall unless he's going to be a stud. But they went into that offseason in 2018. And they said, okay, to get back to the Super Bowl, we're just going to patch up our offensive line. And that's it. Because the offensive line, when Atlanta went to the Super Bowl, the offensive line stayed together for all 16 games. And if I'm right, they got Alex Mack from – I want to say Cleveland, and that was a big trade that he had. So it's not just drafting; it's also getting players from free agency and some other things. But I will say this: Dimitroff is not afraid to make big moves, and he's had success. I can argue that he had more success than the other guy we were just talking about. So I'm not. Well, Rick Smith. I'm sorry. So I'm higher on Dimitroff. It sounds like I'm higher on Dimitroff than you are, but I do think that he has a good reputation in the league. Coaches want to work for him. Another thing is also he gave Dan Quinn the okay. Now keep in mind, I'm pretty sure as general manager, and he was there for a long time, he had the ability, because he hired Dan Quinn, he probably had the ability to fire him. He kept him on. And that's good for teams, because you're not getting a quick hook. So, and sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes a bad thing. Ultimately, I think it's a good thing, because you want to be able to believe that if you have a process in play, you're allowed to implement the process, not like Cleveland was doing, bringing in a new coach every year. So, hey, my Padres about ready to shock the world while this topic. Hey, man, I you know what? I'm not a baseball guy, but I would love it if the San Diego Padres won the World Series. I think it'd be awesome, man. I don't know if I should admit this or not, but I actually don't like it when the Royals are good. I really don't, because so many people become Royals fans. There's so much of Royals. Kansas City's a fair weather town. I'm telling you this right now. Kansas City is one of the most fair weather towns you'll ever see. I hear people say this all the time about KU basketball, where fans, when they're winning, of course, KU basketball wins quite a bit. But yeah, there is not. Kansas City's a fair weather town, so I don't like it when the Royals do good, because I got to hear from people that I knew a guy who went to a World Series game, didn't know anything about baseball. He just wanted to go to a World Series game. He's like, yeah, I'm on board the bandwagon. You hear that a lot in Kansas City. So, man, I'd love to see the Padres. I think San Diego's not only that, it'd be nice. I know losing a football team is pretty tough. So I actually, Isaac, if you don't want to say, you don't have to, but are you from San Diego, or are you in LA, or are you just a Chargers fan? I'd be kind of curious. You do not have to reveal that if you don't want to. He may have panicked. Yeah, he did. He did. One Pride 40, he completely did. And it was a very, very bad deal, because they went all in offensive line. And when you go all in, and if you don't remember, Chris Lindstrom, the guard out of Boston College, that was another thing, is that they're really high on Boston College guys. Matt Ryan's from Boston College. He was the 12th pick overall in the draft. He got injured in training camp, missed the whole year. Actually, I think he came back like the last couple games of the year. And then they traded up for Caleb McCrary, who, when they talked to him, he said, I didn't know I was going to be drafted in the first round. There was one draft source that had McCrary as a 5th round pick, but most people had him 2nd, 3rd round. But trade up in the first round, yeah, that was a big whiff. There was reports, and now as a Lions fan, I would take Dimitroff as a win. As a Lions fan, if I'm a Lions fan, or let's just say I'm a Chiefs fan, because I am a Chiefs fan, Thomas Dimitroff's my GM, that's a win. That is a win. I'm telling you my opinion. But yeah, he did mess up. And here's another thing. It's that he had success. He took Atlanta to the Super Bowl. And then he had some mistakes at the end. So it means that he could learn from those mistakes. But he's not afraid to take chances. And I like guys that take chances. I mean, after all, I do put money down on sports, so I do respect the gambler. So Isaac chimes in. You think the Colts got any shot on Sunday? He's rooting for Phillip Rivers, and the answer is yes, absolutely. Absolutely, because the Bills' hype is crazy right now. There's a lot of people feel like the Bills are Super Bowl bound, and hey, the Bills are going to beat Kansas City. Everybody's overlooking this, and I think there's a good chance the Colts win this game. I really do, because Josh Allen last year looked really bad in the playoffs. He looked really bad. All right. There's a few throws that he had, but they look bad. That's just how it is. I think the Colts are complete underdogs. They have the better defense. They're complete underdogs. Nobody's paying attention to them. And they also have playoff experience. Yeah, I think the Colts got a great shot. I really do. I actually, on that game, the play I have is over 51, but I haven't checked the weather report, and I want to see about everybody else. But, yeah, I think the Colts got a great shot. I don't blame you. Okay, you're from San Diego, pissed when the Bolts moved, but I couldn't. That's cool, man. That is really cool. That's really cool that you stuck with them. I've never been to California, but that's really cool. I'm glad I got a fan from California. That is so awesome. Trust me, if you're from San Diego, it is better. I don't know if you still live there or not, but that's really cool. Trust me, it's better there than it is in Kansas, where I'm at. I'm just outside of Kansas City. It was like sleeting yesterday. It's raining today. It's miserable. It sucks. But yeah, that is really awesome. And yeah, they do have a chance. Any upset predictions for the weekend? I'm going to break down all games. I'm going to break down all 6 games into detail, and I'm thinking about putting some action down this weekend. As far as the Colts, I think the Colts could have a really good chance to beat Buffalo. Now, if both teams come out with their A game. Oh, sorry, man. My nose is itching like crazy. I promise I didn't do blow before the show. If both teams line up and play their A game, then I would think the Bills win. But pay attention to the Colts the last couple of weeks. Like they get up to a 24-7 lead in the first half, and then they lose 28-24 to Pittsburgh. But they played a whole game the same way. They probably win that game by a couple touchdowns. Colts are extremely dangerous. Colts are extremely, extremely dangerous. Right now, I'm leaning towards a couple teasers. Seahawks currently 3.5. I want to get that under 3. You know, I hate the hook there. And then I think the Redskins might have a little better of a chance. Now, I haven't heard for sure, but I heard that Mike Evans may not play. That's kind of a big deal. That defensive line is exactly what causes Brady fits. I also like the fact that Chase Young was like, hey, man, I want Brady. I like that. I really do. The Ravens, Tennessee, I'm very surprised the Ravens are favored. I'm very, very surprised the Ravens are favored. But I could, to tell you the truth, is it an upset if I say I think Tennessee's going to win? I don't know. But as far as upset picks, not really right now. I'm going to dive into each of the games, and I'm going to put a little bit of action. But I'm saving money because I really want to put a lot of money on the Chiefs. I'm thinking the Chiefs are going to beat the shit out of whoever they play, and it'll be interesting. But as of right now, I don't really have any major predictions, upset predictions anyway. I want them to prioritize athleticism. Yes. And that's something that they'll have to do because that defense, I think no matter who takes over as the coach in Detroit, will need to prioritize athleticism, especially on the defensive side of the ball, because that's a slow front seven. Steve Keys, welcome, brother. Man, I think I'm not 100% sure. I think you've been on my show before, but it's been a long time. So welcome back, man. It's always good to see people I haven't seen in a while. Washington football team and Browns are my upset pick. I can buy Washington, but let me ask you this here. The Browns, I'm not sure about the Browns. Stefanski and a few other coaches are off with COVID. They barely beat the backups. And I have a hard. To be honest with you, out of all the teams, I would say who's the first team that I think is going to win. I think Pittsburgh's the only one I could say definitely can do that. So I disagree with you on the Browns, but I'm on board to Washington. I could see Washington pulling an upset. I'm not going to bet that, but I am thinking about taking some points and trying to take Washington in double digits. So that's kind of my thought, man. By the way, I'm glad you're found, brother. It's awesome. Chase wants Brady. He'll have to change his name to Chase. That is awesome, Denver Gator. That is awesome. Dimitrov can do that. Do I think Dimitrov can do that? Absolutely. Absolutely. Keep in mind, they made some picks in the draft and in free agency that didn't pan out on defense, but I do like some of the moves that they've made. Last year, A.J. Terrell, who looks like he's going to be a star in the secondary. Deion Jones, another guy that I'm pretty high on. Keanu Neal, who's had some injury issues. They've had some defensive line picks that didn't pan out. But yeah, he can do it. I mean, this is also a good. Here's the drill. What do you want to use that draft pick on? What do you want to think that draft pick is going to be used on? Because if you want a quarterback, then you really cause some problems on the defensive side of the ball. You really cause some problems on the defensive side of the ball. But if you say, hey, look, Stafford's our guy, we're going to franchise Galladay, we're going to keep the offense intact, let's rebuild the defense, and we're going to start with that first pick in the draft. If you do that, because you can get creative, you can maybe trade down, or you can pick the best player available. Because you pick 7th, if I remember right, and I'm gonna dig so much on draft, but this is a big deal. This is a big deal. Yes, Dimitrov can do that. Do you use it for a quarterback? That's your problem. Do you use that pick for a quarterback, or do you use it to rebuild the defense? If you use it on a quarterback, that defense it's going to take so much longer, because this would be the first pick. This is your blueprint. This is who you're going to go ahead and say, hey, this is who my legacy, my franchise is attached to. You could take Micah Parsons. I was actually talking to Luke G, or we were messaging back and forth. I think it was Twitter. And he said, who do you take in the top 10 on defense? And I said, I like I just had a brain freeze. Oh, man. Surtain, the corner. And he's like, nah, we can't draft the corner. Oh, yes, you can. You cannot have enough good corners. Trust me, Surtain would be a great fit in Detroit. Micah Parsons, another guy, and that there's some questions about him, but do you use that top 10 pick to help on defense, or do you use it on quarterback? That's the big question. So that's a lot to do with it. But Dimitrov and whoever you get on the defensive side, or whoever you get as head coach, that's not bad. I'm saying I don't think Salah's a fit. I'm just telling you right now. The Browns have a tough. Yeah, I think so too, because I think they were going to lose regardless. But this is just one thing they didn't need. I don't think COVID's a big deal. Video conferencing, Steelers trending down, and hey, there aren't too many true upset picks to make. No, there's not. And by the way, man, I love the calls, man. I love the calls. I really do. I 100% disagree with you on Pittsburgh, but I get the Washington. The last 2 times a sub 500 team is played in the playoffs, they've won. One of them was Carolina, whose head coach was Ron Rivera. I actually could see a Redskin upset. I'm actually probably going to put action on the Redskins, but I want points. It's been between 8.5 and 9. I want double digits, because I actually think it's going to be a close game. The thing is, if I'm Tampa Bay, I'm saying to myself, hey, we score 24, it's game over. We score 24, it's game over. And Brady's been hot. So, yeah. Some teams may be seated higher, but that's only because of winning the division. No, I agree with that. As a matter of fact, Baltimore's favored at Tennessee. I'm really surprised about that. Let me ask you, Steve Keats, I'll put you on the spot. Who do you like, Baltimore or Tennessee? I actually don't know. I can make a strong case either way. I can sit here and I can argue with you both ways. Tennessee played really good in the playoffs last year. But I mean, I'm sorry, Tennessee played really good in the playoffs last year. Baltimore, Lamar Jackson's 2 playoffs games, he's looked terrible. But is this the time you want him to like be favored? Or is this the time you really want him to be favored going on the road? I don't know. But, I mean, are they flying under the radar? I don't know if they really are. Of all the playoff games, that's the one I think is a complete coin flip. So, you know. But I love the call, man. I love the call, man. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. I would make the Colts an upset pick before I go with the Browns. I think the Colts are a very dangerous team. I follow a lot of, by the way, shout out to Bills Mafia. I follow a lot of them on social media. Bills Mafia has been really cool to follow. I've messaged some of them. They've messaged back and you know, it's a good fan base, but they're getting crazy. They're talking about dynasty, that they already won Super Bowl. And it's like, slow down. You know, Kansas City went there and just punched you right in the mouth, right? Kansas City won in Buffalo easily. Yeah, I know teams are different and all that, but to sit here and I really get the impression the Bills are overlooking this game. I really get that impression, and that's something that yet you can't do. You can't do. Yeah, the Colts. I think of all the teams that I would say give an upset, I would say the Colts because they have a better defense. I can argue they have a better running game. I can argue I would want to take Rivers in the playoffs over Josh Allen. And it was funny. I was listening to a show, and they're like, well, Rivers never played in the cold. I've been a Chiefs season ticket holder since '89. I've seen Rivers come to Arrowhead several times in the cold and play well. So there's a lot of things against the Colts. I said Chargers. There's a lot of things against the Colts, but man, yes, the Colts can win in Buffalo, and Buffalo better be careful. So if you give me, hey Dan, give me an upset. Give me the Colts. So you're going to take a QB in the first round. Okay. Here's the problem. One Pride 40. That out of all the teams, Detroit's the hardest one to get free agents to. Okay. Let's look here. New York's a hot media bed. All right. So is LA. No state tax in Florida. Atlanta, you have the ownership. Everybody's heard of this hot Atlanta. What's the other team that I'm missing? Oh yeah, Houston. Texas. Some people really love Texas. Out of all the teams, Detroit's the hardest one. You want to build through the draft. You really want to build through the draft and add in free agency. Detroit's a hard sell, man. I'm sorry. Detroit's a hard sell for guys. So you have to overpay, and you can only overpay 1 or 2 guys. You can't overpay 6 guys to come to Detroit. That's why you want to build through the draft. That's why you want to build through the draft. That's why I think that what you do is you take the offensive side of the ball and you say, hey, listen, here's your pitch. Hey, listen, we got Matt Stafford. We got Galladay. We got Hawkinson. We got Swift. We got Adrian Peterson. And then we got, let's say you're going with Salah. So we're bringing in Salah, man. We're bringing in this fast, new, exciting defense. We got these draft picks because if you bring in Salah, you need several players and go heavy on the draft on defense. That's how you get players excited. You go with a rookie quarterback and you get rid. By the way, Stafford's very well liked in the locker room. And he's also very well liked and respected around the NFL. That is a big red flag because if you get rid of Stafford and then you want to go ahead and build your defense through free agency, you have to overpay because there's no way that you can get guys to go to Detroit and can legitimately win. There's no way. You can't have it both ways. You can't draft a quarterback and then build your defense through free agency. You can't do it. You can keep Stafford, build through the draft, and sprinkle in a piece or 2 But what you're talking about, it can't be done. And the reason why is Detroit is not a place free agents want to go. It's just not. I will say, yeah, he does. He does. I think if Dimitroff goes there, it's a good fit. That I would give that very good grade. I don't put money on games, so I can go out there with the Browns. Tomlin is a great coach, so he likely has his guys ready to play. Just throwing out, hey man, I respect it, brother. I respect it. My buddy Tim has not joined in tonight, but he is a big Browns fan. So I actually, me and him, he actually had last time I think we had jerseys on. He had a Brady Quinn jerseys, but huge Browns fan, not here today. I know he's cheering for him, but I haven't talked to him yet. I'd love to know his opinion. He hasn't joined the show today, but I have to get a hold of him. But no, man, hey man, crazy picks are welcome here, brother. Crazy picks are welcome. Tennessee, yeah, that is a tough one. That is a tough one. Ridley, Jones, Hopper, Freeman, Coleman, Sanu. Okay, I get what you're saying. Proving me wrong. Proving me wrong. But keep in mind, not everybody on that list was in their prime. And then Ryan, so he can draft a quarterback. Okay, all right. All right. I can, you know what? You kind of proved me wrong, man. But I still, it would not be pro Salah. I'm telling you right now, if you go with Salah and you use that first pick in the draft for a quarterback, you're going to have a bad year. I'm telling you right now, 4-12. I don't care who you get in free agency. Balt, Tennessee will be awesome. Push the over on rushing yards. I believe Baltimore defense makes a few extra key stops to win. Well, the key would be can you keep Henry under 150? And it sounds crazy to say you keep him under 150, but yeah, that's what you want to do. You keep him under 150, you got a fighting chance. But when he's running, then you exercise the play action. AJ Brown's dangerous, but Baltimore. I mean, I think they ran for like over 400 yards in their last game. Tennessee's defense is terrible. That's the problem that you have. So, Denver Gator. I didn't even think about Denver. I have no idea. Yeah, it's funny. They're like Rivers can't play in the cold. I'm like, dude, I was just talking about Kansas City. I forgot about Denver, but yeah, let's tighten up. Now I'm going to break down all 6 of the games in detail. I just today I'm just kind of just talking about football in general, man. But the Titans, I will say it's the Titans-Ravens game is the one that let me ask you something. I don't think you're big into gambling. I could be wrong, but they are a 3-point dog so far. What do you think about that? It's really rare to have a playoff team be a home dog. Kind of rare. I mean, the Redskins are, but everybody knows that. It comes down to whether they can stop Henry and whether LJ's receivers catch the ball in clutch situation. That's the one thing I'm not a huge Dez Bryant fan, but I think Dez Bryant on this team really adds something. I think there's a level of security with Lamar Jackson and Dez Bryant. I think there's like, hey, look, it's 3rd and 6 or 3rd and 5, and I got to throw the ball. Hey, I can throw to Dez Bryant if Mark Andrews is covered, of course. I think that adds something. But that, of all the games, man, that's the one that's really like, I don't know. But I will say this, and you mentioned you're not into gambling. I talk a lot of point spreads. I always say that I call myself an expert because I consistently make a profit betting on football. That's the game that I can honestly say is a coin flip. I can make a strong case for Titans and Ravens. I really can. So I'm going to go into depth Friday. I'm going to break down all 6 games into detail. I kind of just want to talk football in general. I want to hear what you guys have to say. It's my favorite thing in the world. I just want to ramble about sports, ramble about what's going on in the NFL. The big signing was the Houston Texans signed, I think it was director of player personnel from New England. Kind of surprised, but I'll go into more depth. But we're just talking the games right now, man. I look, as a Titans fan, you gotta love this game. I worry about your defense. The over/under is 54.5. It's a big number, but if you're going to tell me Tennessee can't win this game, I'm like, look what they did last year. Of course I can win this game. But that game is going to be so much more fun. So what if I have to go QB, have them sit, trade back, and acquire more picks? So you pick a QB at 7, and then you use 2nd through 7th picks. I get what you're saying, man, but I get what you're saying, but even if you do that, you're not getting top tier talent, and you have to rebuild that defense from scratch if Salah's the guy who looks like it's going to be. So if that scenario, you're still looking at 2021 as being a 4-win team, which really sucks. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. James, welcome, brother. I'm glad you're here, man. Do you think the GM from Seattle would sign with the Lions? Well, not Schneider. I know he's not, but we were talking about earlier. I know Dimitrioff interviewed, and we're kind of going with Dimitrioff and Salah. Looks like, but I think if Dimitrioff takes the job, that's a home run. The guy from Seattle, I know it's not Schneider, and there is a guy from Seattle, and I don't know who he is off the top of my head, but one thing I will say is I love what Detroit's done. They've interviewed for general manager, I think like 8 different people already. So they're definitely doing their due diligence. But I think Dimitrioff would, because I know he was there, I think yesterday, and I think he's the front runner. I think that's a great fit. One Pride 40 says, I didn't. No, you didn't. But there's a lot of talk that Salah's going to get the job. That so far it seems like that's consensus that Salah's going to get the job. So picking up Salah with Dimitrioff, and that's the impression that we're going under right now. That's not a bad thing. So. One Pride, my personal thought, bring back Sanu, draft Lance in the 1st, and then Tony in the 2nd. Play Chase, trade Stafford, carry on, and tag Kenny, maybe use one other pick. Then use the rest on defense. This is actually not a bad plan. I'm telling you this, though, right now. I'm going to tell you both the same thing. This is not a bad plan, but you're looking at 4-12 team in 2021. You're looking at 4-12 team. It's going to be a tough year. But I'm looking at 2022. Rodgers isn't going to be there. Who knows what's going to happen in Minnesota and Chicago. 2022 could be exciting, but if you do this plan, you're going to have a bad 2021. And I pick up more picks for how. Okay, it's not the team that hires the coach. If you're okay in this scenario, the 49ers get that pick, not the Detroit Lions. So. As a Chiefs fan, I just want the Ravens and Titans to beat the hell out of each other. Yeah, I do too, because I really don't think I think the Colts are dangerous, but I'm going to take the Bills probably as the win. I want to win. To tell you the truth, if I'm a Chiefs fan, I would love to have Cleveland win. They will celebrate like they just won the Super Bowl to walk in Arrowhead and lose by 50. So. I'm looking for King Henry to stiff someone 6 feet and under. Come on. As somebody who's an old school guy, somebody who's old school like myself, I love Derrick Henry. Somebody's an old school. I love watching Derrick Henry run. I think it was Schneider that they requested. Really? Wow. And I apologize. I didn't know that, but if Schneider wants to leave, which is really weird, that would be the best fit. I mean, what he did with Seattle. Now keep in mind, Pete Carroll has player control. So, I mean, that's a tough one, but Detroit's not winning 12 games. I'd love it, though. I'd love it. Did you see the emails? Yes. Okay, I didn't watch all of them, but I saw the one with Guess the Fish, and Stafford was involved too. And okay, Let me tell you something. It sounds minor, but you have offensive linemen doing a YouTube show, and the quarterback comes on the show, even though he doesn't know anything about fishing. That shows that. And here's the thing: you could tell that like these guys like Stafford. I think that was really cool. It sounds like it's not that big of a deal. It actually is that big of a deal. It shows that they bond, they like each other. For an offensive lineman to include the quarterback, and for the quarterback, they're like, man, I don't even fish. What is this, pike? And by the way, that was pretty cool, man. I actually really liked it. I'm subscribed to that Lions channel. I just don't watch all the videos, but Guess the Fish is pretty damn funny. So, yeah. It is awesome. And it also shows the linemen like Stafford, and Stafford likes the offensive lineman. Another reason why I keep saying don't draft a quarterback yet. So if Mike Holmgren goes to GM job, epic. He's been gone for so long out of football. I don't even know what he's doing. But I mean, I would, if I was a team and hey, Mike Holmgren wants to be like a special assistant, I think that'd be great. I think it'd be great. Exactly. And here's the thing. That scenario that you mentioned is perfect. It's perfect. It's great because you're building for a great future. I'm just telling you, you're going to have a bad 2021, but your 2022, 2023 could be really great. Like the Carolina Panthers, they won 4 games this year. The future is very bright in Carolina, even if they lose the offensive coordinator. Which looks like he's been interviewing. So it's still a good thing. But I really, really do like that that scenario. I really do. But the problem is you just have a bad year this year. But you're right. The roster's not worth winning now. So no, you have me and you. It's kind of funny, Funk, because me and you agree. But when I do my draft, I expect us to go back and forth again. So I love it. I love it too because, like you said, and I want to take credit for it, but I can't. It's great when men can argue sports about one call another one the name. That's the best part. Watch the Talking with TJ, the episode Matt Stafford is his guest, and the Lions fan. I didn't watch that. I will watch it because those are actually pretty damn funny. Guess the Fish was pretty funny. And it's kind of cool. They all like fish. I don't fish. I have a bunch of friends that like fishing. I follow several fishing shows on YouTube, including McGrath Fishing. I'll give him McGraw Fishing. I'll give him a special shout out. But his YouTube channel's been blowing up. I was following him when it's like under 1,000. I think he's got like 5,000. They do giveaways and all sorts of stuff. They're in Green Bay. He's come on and watched my show before, but he hasn't put a comment in. He's a big Packers fan. Well, if Chiefs Packers get in the Super Bowl, I'll do a little trash talking, but I do follow him, and there's like 1 or 2 other fishing shows I follow. But yeah. Resign Galladay or Ragnow. Well, if I'm correct, Ragnow's still under his rookie contract. So Ragnow's still under his rookie contract. So you're good there. If I'm right, you'd have to franchise Galladay. My impression is that if you don't franchise him or sign him, he's gone. That's the impression I get. So, also Hawkinson tries to sabotage TJ. Like, it's kind of cool that these guys get along with each other. It shows some really good things with the Detroit Lions. So, I mean, I will actually check that out. What's funny is there is a Lions YouTuber who wants us to get the Salah, then trade Stafford to San Francisco in hopes that they can get a little extra because of the fact San Fran will have more picks. It is funny because NFL teams are not that sentimental, but I've heard Stafford to San Francisco more than once, but that was Salah going there. I don't think that would encourage San Francisco to give you more picks because I've been telling people San Francisco, the marriage between Lynch and Shanahan, they've had 2 double-digit losing seasons, a Super Bowl loss, and then a 7-9. I think it's 7-9 or 6-10. I don't know what but a losing season this year. The 49ers also have a lot of free agents. The 49ers have got a lot of holes to fill, and they're not a good team. So one guy, actually, it's funny. There's a Lions guy on Instagram. I'm not even going to say who it is because he said trade Stafford to Denver for a second, third, and sixth. And I'm like, are you high? This is a guy who just plays way too much Madden. But I've heard Stafford to San Francisco a few times. I don't know how that works because you got a big contract with Garoppolo, but if you can make the money work and figure somebody to take all the money away from Garoppolo, yeah, but yeah, it's kind of comical. They'll give you more picks, but with the plan that you have with Lance, and then going with Chase Daniel as the quarterback in 2021 actually makes a lot of sense. I would be on board with that. When Bieniemy gets hired as head coach, does he try to take Kafka with him to be his OC? This is a great question. The answer is he will 100% try. But if I'm Kafka, I'm looking at Bieniemy, I'm looking at Nagy, and I'm looking at Peterson. Being a Chiefs offensive coordinator will 100% guarantee you to get a head coaching job in the future. It will 100% guarantee you to get a job as a NFL head coach. Going to either Houston or Atlanta or Detroit, there's no guarantee. So does he try? 100% he tries. He has to try. That's probably his number one choice. He's probably talking to him right now about it, like in meeting rooms planning. He's like, hey, man, you want to come with me? But will it happen? No. Well, let me rephrase that. I have no idea. But if I'm Kafka and I want to be an NFL head coach, I'm saying, hey, the last three guys, and by the way, there's already talk about Mike Kafka getting an NFL head coaching job in 2022. The Kafka head coaching job is already started. So, yeah. Rags over Galladay every day. Okay. All right. The what's in the box ones are pretty good. I'm going to have to check more of that out. I really genuinely liked it. It was a lot of fun. I should look up TJ Hawkins. I will check that out because I did like the what guess the fish. That was pretty funny. I think Ragnow is more valuable than Galladay. Good centers are hard to find than wide receivers. But keep in mind, he's under contract for 5 years. This is year 4, if I'm doing my math right. So unless they said that they weren't going to give him his 5th year, which is already over, then I'm not really sure what the best of my knowledge. Ragnow is under contract for another 2 years. Galladay's up this year, so. But Ragnow is a very good player, though. Yeah. I always get confused when I see the word resign in sports. Does he resign his stay? Does he resign? Mike Kafka. Mike Kafka is okay, Steve, you can read the comments. Yeah. And there's been talk about that. Mike Kafka is the Chiefs quarterback coach, and there's been talk about him getting an NFL head coaching job in 2022. There was even some rumors that he was going to get interviewed this year. But I think what the Chiefs are doing is they're letting Bieniemy interview. They're not going to let Kafka interview. But Mike Kafka is going to be an NFL head coach very soon, probably 2022. But he's more than likely going to take over as Chiefs offensive coordinator and then be a head coach in 2022. And the only reason you really, really want to do that is because, most all assistants want to be head coaches, and usually it's a minimum of triple the pay. Usually, I'm generalizing. There was a Chiefs defensive coordinator, Gunther Cunningham. He got promoted to head coach. Dick Vermeil, I'm sorry, I got the names mixed up here. Carl Peterson, the Chiefs general manager, brought in his buddy Dick Vermeil, who he wanted all along. They were together in UCLA in the 70s, if I'm correct. Brought Gunther Cunningham back as defensive coordinator, then paid him more as defensive coordinator than they paid him as a head coach. So you have situations like that. But as a general rule of thumb, the head coach will make triple to what a coordinator position would make. This would be stupid because is there something going on? Because he was Detroit's first round pick 3 years ago, right? Or was it 4 years ago? Because if it's 3 years ago, he's under a 4th-year deal, team option for 5. So Ragnow there's no talk about, there shouldn't be any talk unless I'm missing something. Do I have my years mixed up? Because Ragnow has to be in Detroit 100%. Where Galladay is going to leave if he doesn't get signed on a long deal. So that's him. Yeah. Well, Sue, there's a lot of stuff with that. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. Was Kafka on the staff when Alex Smith was there? I believe so. I don't think he was the quarterback coach. I think he was an assistant coach. I'm lying if I know that for a fact. I'm lying if I know it was on fact, but I think he was an assistant because Matt Nagy at the time was the Chiefs quarterback coach. It was Doug Peterson was offense coordinator. Matt Nagy was the quarterback coach, and I think Kafka was just an assistant. And then when Peterson left, Matt Nagy, who was talked about when he was the Chiefs quarterbacks coach as being an NFL head coach, he got promoted to the offensive coordinator, and I think that's when Kafka stepped into being the Chiefs quarterback coach. But I think he's been with the organization for a couple years. So Kefka was the big bad in Final Fantasy. I haven't played Final Fantasy in a long time, man. It's kind of cool. I didn't know that. I haven't played Final. Buddy of mine tried to get me to play. I'm going to say 15, but I just don't play that much. I don't have time, so I end up not buying the game. But I think Kafka was on the staff when I believe Matt Nagy. Yeah. That I think you're right. And Kafka, what happened is Kafka got promoted when Nagy got promoted to offensive coordinator. Kafka got promoted to a quarterback coach. So, yeah, James, 100%. It was behavior. It was actually it was off field stuff. Like what he would do was when he signed that big contract. He had an issue with Schwartz, and what he would do is he would purposely show up to meetings late. He apparently was disrespectful to Schwartz and other coaches. So there was a lot of things that Sue did. Sue just played like he was kind of a jerk, and in the last couple of years, he's really been an A+ player. I know you're gonna hate this. I think Sue belongs in the Hall of Fame. Sue, I think, belongs in the Hall of Fame. But yeah, he had some bad things in Detroit and his attitude, but it's kind of a shame because he is a Hall of Fame player. I think he belongs in Canton. So, oh God, yes, I forgot about that. Yeah, he stomped on. I want to say foot. Yeah, Sue was a dirty player, man. He was a dirty player, and but I love the guy. I mean, if he was a Chief, I'd be yeah. I mean, I love Sue, but yeah. I'm sorry. But I think he belongs in the Hall of Fame. That's awesome. That is so awesome, man. Yeah. I thought, Ragland was the 21st pick in the draft. And I remember I thought they should have drafted Billy Price, who was the Remington Award winner out of Ohio State. And Cincinnati drafted him, and he can't even start. So, yeah. Right now, okay, I'm going to kind of wrap this up here. By the way, I'm not even watching on YouTube. I may have 5,000 thumbs down. If you're watching this, give me a thumbs up. Also in the comments section, put a comment in there. Tell me anything, everything. It helps the algorithm up. It really helps me out a lot. I try to get more and more people to join the show. I want to get people from all 32 fan bases to jump on board. It's a better show when I hear from more people. It's also, I'm being selfish. It's just selfish for me. I want to hear from more people. I want to get more inside information. I want to hear from every fan base. If they can give me some information that I don't have, it makes the show better. That's just my opinion. So give me the thumbs up. whether I deserve it or not. Like I said, I'm not even watching YouTube. I may have 5,000 thumbs down. I don't know. I will say this, the games that I'm eyeballing right now, and I'm going to break down in detail all of the wild card games, all 6 of them. I'm going to do that in great detail. I'm leaning towards putting action on Seattle in 3.5. I'm probably going to take a point or two. I'm waiting to see if Goff's going to play or not. Still Willie Wilney. I heard Jamal Adams is going to play, but it's not 100% yet. I'm also thinking about teasing Washington taking a few points because I think that game's going to be within a touchdown. It's 8.5. I may try to get double digits. So that's kind of what I'm leaning on. The Buffalo Indianapolis game, I'm also going to check the weather report. I haven't done that yet. I'm kind of embarrassed. I normally would, but I'll have it checked out before I do Friday's show. If the weather's just cold, I'm probably going to take the over. It's over 51, but I'm really waiting until the Chiefs get into the playoffs so I put some big money down. So I think that's kind of the way I'm going right now. Of course, between now and Friday's show, there could be a lot of things that are going to change. I don't think Sue is as bad as Brissett, but yeah, oh God, yeah. Sue, yeah, he was. That's one thing about the Chiefs. They got Frank Clark, who was a bad boy, Michigan guy, and I thought they overpaid him, both draft capital and real money. And but without Frank Clark, they don't win a Super Bowl. Detroit does need a bad boy or two, but right now they need some athletes. So first battle. Well, I'm glad you said that, man. I thought I'd piss you guys off, but yeah, we need some Vikings and Cowboys fans in here. Listen to Alex One Pride and Funk just owning. You know what? Alex has been just gold. He just joined me at the beginning of the year, and he's been a staple, man. Almost every show he's jumped in, and his Cowboys fashion is just awesome. And I would love it, but I have lots of friends that are Cowboys fans, and they're all kind of off a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And some Vikings fans. They were super cool. The last time the Vikings played at Arrowhead, they were doing that skull. They were yelling that skull, and then I was like, "What the hell, is skull? Like what the hell?" And they broke it down. I was like, "That's kind of cool, man." So they were super cool. And then the Packers fans, I did Uber, and I drove a couple of drunk Packers fans around. They were super cool too. I'd love to get some Packers Vikings fans. I would love to get some Cowboys fans because Alex would school them, and I can vouch for Funk's football knowledge. Funk knows his football. I'll never forget last year. We kept on arguing about the draft, and hopefully we can argue more this year. I'm going to be doing a lot of draft stuff. I've already gone through, I'm going to say close to 100 mock drafts. And one thing I want to say real fast, I don't think Miami, the Jets, or Cincinnati's taking a left tackle. And almost every mock draft I've seen so far, they have Sewell going either to Miami, New York, or to Cincinnati. And I don't think either one of those teams are taking a tackle. They've already drafted one. So, I know. I know who you meant, though. I think we all knew. Bad boy guy. Yeah. Frank Clark really helped out Kansas City. Really helped out Kansas City. So, yeah. Imagine this. Mayhew wanted to draft Donald and Caldwell wanted. Oh, my God. Oh, God. Yes. Oh, man. I forgot you guys drafted Ebron and then Aaron Donald. That, by the way, anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. But, oh, God. Yeah, Aaron Donald was he's my defensive player of the year. I was going to say, who do you guys think? But, oh, yeah, Aaron Donald and Sue. I know we will. I know. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it because there's a lot of respect back and forth. Or I got lots of respect for you. You've joined my show, so hopefully the respect's back. But you've always been respectful in the show. So you may be getting off the air like, God damn, no damn thing. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it too because the Lions draft pick. I'm already disagreeing with Luke G. Already. So yeah. Look what they did with the Rams. You put Sue and Donald together, they went to the Super Bowl. You took Sue away, they were 9-17. Of course, they had a lot of other things, but off the top of my head, I'm not sure. It's something I should know, but yeah. Denver Gators, some of the smartest fans are in this chat, minus me. No, dude, I'm telling you right now, there are some really smart football fans in here, including yourself. And I love the fact that you brought in some Florida Gators and brought in some Florida Gators talk and brought in some college football. Mike and Pete didn't join the show today. Mike turned me on to Coastal Carolina at the very beginning of the season. And that's something I'm going to do more of as time goes on and as the show gets bigger and my life becomes less chaotic. Like, for example, I'm working Saturday, and as soon as I get off of work, I'm going to start. I'm going to DVR the games, but I think one of them's on Amazon that I can't DVR, which is going to piss me off. But it's first world problems. But basically, as soon as I get off of work Saturday, I'm going to just start diving into football. Saturday, Sunday, lots of football. I do have to work Saturday, which sucks. First world problems. So, but when I stop working 6 days a week, I can donate more time to talk college football. Next year, I'm hoping I can talk a lot more college football, but we'll have to wait and see. Right after the draft is when I'm starting the draft videos. I'm right after the draft. Come on, Dan. Right after the combine. As soon as I get the official word on the combine, I'm going to do a little video, put it out on YouTube. I have to update some things on my YouTube page and social media in general. It's something I've been meaning to get around to. It's kind of a list of things I've been trying to get, but 6 days a week and show prep. I've been going to the gym a lot too. You probably can't tell, but it's something I as soon as the show ends, matter of fact, I'm going straight to the gym. But more than likely right after the combine. The combine's usually Thursday through Monday, and that Monday will be my first draft video. But I'll keep you guys informed. And because I know Funk's going to argue with me on some draft stuff. So, yeah. 13.5, he's from Pluto. Yes, big fan of him coming out of college. Had no idea it was going to be this good. Yeah. Hey, man, I know you do. You've been with me for a long time, One Pride 40. So it's not fair. I know. I got tongue tied, man. I messed up. So, but yeah, right after the combine, I'm gonna start doing draft videos, and I'm still gonna do live streams as well. I'm gonna do it every Friday. I'm gonna stick with after this week a Friday live stream every single week. Even after the draft, and we'll just kind of go from there. But on that note, I'm going to wrap things up. Friday, I'm going to go into in-depth detail on all 6 playoff games. I'm also going to go into great detail as to what I'm putting action on, and if I'm putting action on. More than likely, I'm already going to have action placed on the Friday games right before I do the show. So. Oh, you guys are great, man. All right, I'm ending it. But hey, listen, I hope everybody comes back on Friday to go in-depth detail. And if I have action placed, you guys are going to find out. I'm going to reveal my bets on Friday. So listen, man, have a great rest of the night. Have a great Thursday. I'll see everybody back on Friday.